Fear is an incredibly powerful, albeit incredibly subjective emotion. While some fears are seemingly universal, not all people are afraid of the same things, and no two individuals express fear in exactly the same manner. What terrifies you may be nothing more than a trifle to me. Inversely, what immobilizes me with fear may be something that you could see as calming or even pleasant. This subjectivity is precisely why I do not find most entertainment within the horror genre particularly frightening. Most horror media sticks to certain tropes and subjects, many of which I either have no interest in to begin with, or have grown numb to. Horror is not my favorite genre to begin with, so I typically do not partake in it much as a general rule. But I am not immune to fear. And there are certain things that I can run across in my daily life that strike fear into me and shake me to my very core. This is what makes phobias so incredibly powerful. Those of us affected by them can rationalize with ourselves all day that what we are afraid of is ultimately harmless, or nowhere near as frightening as we believe it to be. But that does not make our emotional reaction to these triggers any less severe. So many of us afflicted with phobias simply try to avoid that which we are afraid of. Unfortunately for me, one of my phobias is exceptionally difficult to escape, particularly in video games, my preferred method of escapism: water. I have a severe case of thalassophobia, or the fear of the sea or other bodies of deep water. Any body of water deeper than that which I can stand in while keeping my head dry fills me with an intense fear. This fear is so powerful that it extends to the virtual world. Any game that requires me to traverse deep water qualifies in my mind as a horror game, no matter what genre it may actually belong to. Even bright, cheerful games can instill immense dread in me whenever they require I descend into the dark abysses of the deep. I cannot fully explain why exactly virtual waters terrify me so. Rationally, I understand that most water in video games acts as little more than a change of pacing, often adding tension by putting you under the constraints of a timer due to your characters needing oxygen, and changing up the controls to give an extra challenge. And when there are threats awaiting you in the depths of a game's water, I can again tell myself that they are no different from the threats on dry land, though they may require a change of tactics to deal with. Yet no matter how much I consciously rationalize it, I cannot turn off my subconscious fear. Even having my character enter a body of deep water that I know is completely safe is enough to make me shudder. But when I am completely surrounded by it, with nothing but the expansive void of water surrounding me, then I become almost paralyzed. My hands tremble, my breath shortens, and I want nothing more than to escape the situation by any means necessary. This fear has made it nearly or even completely impossible for me to play certain games. And while I may not be able to narrow down why exactly water terrifies me so much, I believe I can pinpoint exactly what caused me to fear water in my entertainment to such a degree. This is the ichthyosaur, an aquatic enemy from the Half-Life series. Considering my channel name, you might have made the connection and come to the conclusion that Half-Life is a very important series to me. And you would be right. This series has influenced me greatly, but unfortunately, not always for the best. The ichthyosaur struck fear into my heart from the first moment I encountered it. So many factors work in its favor to make it one of the most terrifying enemies I have ever had to deal with. The opaque water of the Half-Life games that makes it impossible to see beneath the surface from land. The sounds of the water itself when you submerge, your oxygen ever ticking down. The in-game physics that make you bob desperately at the surface to avoid sinking. The reduced number of weapons that you are able to use underwater. and that horrible, horrible noise you hear as this beast approaches you, so much more agile and capable in this environment than you could ever be. It is a perfect storm that makes the player feel almost helpless. So much of your control is removed as you have to fend off these creatures that can whittle your health down rapidly. I firmly believe that it is thanks to this one enemy, this one perfect storm, that I feel uneasy whenever faced with deep water in any game. For even if I know that nothing lurks in the depths, something in my mind warns me against it. It is unsafe. The water itself is an inherent danger, and even if the depths hide nothing, is that not worse? If there is nothing awaiting below but the endless expanse that always threatens to drag you into its void, is that truly any comfort? You see, that is another thing that I believe adds to the terror of water. Corpses, blood, entrails, they can be unpleasant, but overexposure makes us blasé to them. Killers, monsters, and other fiends may frighten us with their grisly visages, or cruel actions, or at the very least startle us with their sudden appearances. But often, we are able to fight back, or flee. But when a game presents us with deep waters, we cannot flee it. We cannot fight against the waves. We cannot truly grow accustomed to it, for we are not made to dwell within it. And we never know what may be lurking just out of sight. Water does not have the same effect on everyone. There are plenty of people who find unknown depths fascinating or even calming. There are many who wish to observe or explore it, many who find it a comfort. But for me, there is little more terrifying in either virtual worlds or our own reality. And when I must endure its trials, all I can truly do is aim to keep my head above water, and keep faith that soon my feet will be dry once more. For in my mind, ghouls, ghosts, monsters, and murderers are novelties, oddities, and subjects of studies. For my true nightmares are far more mundane.